gold finds attracted the gamblers and chiselers as well as the miners and merchants. Every saloon was wide open for poker and dice until the law closed down public gambling in 1868. Today, you may not see the hurdy-gurdy girls being swung off their feet in the Fashion Saloon, but you will hear music and laughter coming from the restored Theatre Royal daily during the summer months. The original Theatre Royal was opened in May 1868 and was the scene of much of the community entertainment. The Caribou Amateur Dramatic Association, formed by the miners, led by those cultural lions John Bowron and James Anderson, presented many plays over the years. Almost 150 plays in all, minstrel shows, farces, French drama, and comedies were recently found in a local attic. Traveling companies from San Francisco and New York also visited the town, but the shows the people liked best were written by Anderson, the local playwright and poet. The shows were played summer and winter, but one night no one showed up, not even the actors. It was 42 below outside and just about as cold inside. The miners used to play the female roles, as there was a great shortage of women. So you'll find in the Caribou Sentinel, the local newspaper, that young Robert Jones surprised the audience with a tender rendition of the suffering heroine, Miss Ogilvy. And today, you can see again the dancing girls kick up the dust on the old stage. There is plenty more to see in town. Moses, the barber down the street, had his own private recipe to cure baldness. In the other exhibits, you can see mannequins and utensils that show you how the pioneers actually lived. You can take a picture of actors walking about town in costumes of the last century. Or you can take a picture of tourists taking pictures. Of course, not everyone who came over the rough trail from the coast to Barkerville worked on a claim. Like the merchants and bankers, the blacksmith was indispensable. And in the long run, perhaps he collected more gold than the miners did. Anyway, it was a safer bet. few miles of rough road. It was a smoother ride than you would think over the rugged terrain. They used a dozen layers of leather for springs on this old BC Express mail coach. This is the sort of coach where everyone gets wet when it rains, not just the driver. You can walk right into some of the reconstructed buildings like the Wake Up Jake Saloon or the Denny Saloon, recently finished by the Barkerville Historical Society. Here you can buy fresh ground coffee and rock candy, or just listen to the storekeeper telling stories of the early days. He may tell you about Johnny Knott, the carpenter, who made headboards for the cemetery. He carved himself a beauty. When he died, a relative sold it for a fancy price, and Johnny lies in an unmarked grave. He'll also tell you that they printed a newspaper right in town called the Caribou Sentinel. It was a weekly and cost $1 a copy. The miners used it as a substitute for wallpaper to keep the cold wind from coming through the cracks. You'll hear about the superintendent of the ne'er-do-well claim who took $1,500 worth of gold from under one rock. You may develop a strong case of gold fever and be determined to find some pay dirt yourself. At the Morning Star claim, halfway up the road to Richfield, you can try your luck with a pan. It's hard work, but that's what the miners did all day long, in the rain and cold as well as the sunshine. Sometimes they found only $1 to the pan, sometimes 5, sometimes nothing. But most of them found some gold, and they found so much that the vault at the Bank of British Columbia was often so full that they almost couldn't close the lid. They say the vault was only an iron box with a simple lock, but they didn't have many robberies. The penalty for stealing gold was 3 years on the chain gang. There it is. It's not worth much in dollars and cents, but it was worth it. It's evening in Barkerville now, and as in the early days, this is the time to hear the latest gossip. After a hard day's work, it feels good just to talk for a while and think about what it was like here 100 years ago. Yes, this was the biggest town north of San Francisco and west of Chicago, Barkerville.